Welcome to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast on Mintwave Radio and all podcast platforms. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist or healer with an online program and would like to find out how to grow your business whilst having fun podcasting, go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hey, so welcome to the show. Today we have Liam, and he is over in Spain, so he's not having the kind of terrible temperatures that we're having over here in the UK. And he helps people get over that feeling of being not enough so that they can thrive, not just in their business, if they're an entrepreneur, but in their life as a whole. So welcome to the show, Liam.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me.
And so if you'd like to share with the listeners a little bit about your story and how did you come to be doing this and helping people get over this not feeling really enough that I think so many people go through, especially when they're entrepreneurs and when they're starting out on their journey?
Yeah, sure. The funny thing is, if you really look at it, most people are struggling. And yet that doesn't make any sense from a biological perspective, because we live in a universe that is not based on struggle. It's based on abundance and everything being the best that it can be. And all of nature is in perfect harmony, but somehow we as humans have got out of sync with this. And really my journey was very much that of probably most entrepreneurs. You know, I've had 18 different businesses in my life. I've always been an entrepreneur, and I've always been like most entrepreneurs, always trying to figure out, how can I be better? How can I have more? How can I realize my full potential? How can I get rid of this feeling in my heart that there's more, that I can be better and I need to keep striving? And I've got all these goals and I don't want to be struggling. I want to have this life of freedom and abundance where life just flows and just feels exciting every day. And so for many years, that was the path I went down through my businesses, and I studied lots of different things to try and figure out how I could be more successful. And I studied religion. I was brought up in a Christian household, and it was very easy. The story of religion that I was told as a child was, if you want to be successful, if you want to be really have everything you want in your life, you just ask God. You pray and God will give it to you. It didn't quite work out, but it took me down what was the first of many different paths to try and figure out this whole success thing. How can we be the best that we can be at whatever we're doing and feel and have this life of freedom where we're not struggling? We were like the rest of nature where life is just flowing. And anyway, I studied psychology, personal development, all sorts of motivational techniques. I did workshops, seminars all over the world, read books, did courses, studied things and did everything, reprogramming your subconscious mind by listening to subliminal recordings. I did years of all of that sort of stuff. And every time a new technique or a person came along and said, I've got the answer, this is how you get everything you want, I'd really go for it. And I wouldn't just go to the course or read the book. I'd study it and I'd do everything they told me to do. I remember one person said, look, here's a recording I want you to listen to every day for a month. I listened to it 3 times a day for 6 months. So I was doing all of these things, and I was also doing spiritual things like meditation and different spiritual practices. And I got to the point where I was doing really well on the outside. I was a multi-millionaire. I had several different businesses going at the same time. I was traveling when I wanted to, nice travel. I had a boat. I had a holiday house in the Fiji Islands. I lived in a clifftop mansion. Everything was great on the outside. But what I had on the inside was problems and stress. And I kept thinking, I'm not there yet. I need more. I'm still struggling. And I realized, sometimes I used to think, how successful do I have to get? How much do I have to get away from the feeling that I'm not struggling? And I think that's the problem that so many of us have, so many entrepreneurs have. Even when you're starting out, or even when you've made your first few million, you never quite get rid of that feeling that you've still got a lot of problems and stress and struggle that you have to deal with. We're told, actually, that problems are a natural part of success. And this is what I used to believe. I know it's not true now, and I can prove it. But I used to believe, yes, you have to accept that. You have to overcome struggles. You have to overcome challenges. You're always going to have problems in your life. That's just a natural part of success. And if you want to be successful, you have to learn how to deal with it. So anyway, here I was barreling along, doing really well, making more money every year, setting bigger goals, but lots of problems and stress all the time, and never really getting over the feeling that I'm not in control here. I still have to get a handle on it. But anyway, what happened in my mid-40s was something that should never have happened, because I was an expert on success. I knew I had all my goals lists and my visualization boards, and everything worked out what I wanted. And then virtually overnight, I lost everything. And I became homeless. I had to move in and stay with my elderly mother and sleep on the sofa in her apartment in the living room. And I thought, two things occurred to me. I thought, how did this happen to me? The first question I had was, how did this happen to me? Why has this happened to me? Because I'm an expert on success. I know how to change your beliefs, have the right thoughts, have the right mindset, do the right things, be motivated. I knew all those things, and I could rattle off any course you name or any book with lots of quotes about the path to being truly successful and to being in control of your life. So I thought, why has this happened to me? Because firstly, it wasn't on my goals list, and secondly, I know how to do better than this, surely. And the second thing that I asked myself as I was lying on this uncomfortable sofa trying to get to sleep at nights was, what do I do now? Because I had no clue. I had no friends. I was in a town, my mother lived in a town where I hadn't lived before. I'd been away from the city for a long time. All my businesses were gone, all my income. I had nothing. And but worst of all, I couldn't see a way out. And I thought, I don't know what to do here. If I knew what to do, I would do it. And of course, isn't that feeling that so many of us have as entrepreneurs is, I just wish I knew what to do to fix this problem, to make it happen. So I'm going to go and read another book, or I'm going to do another course, or I'm going to listen to another podcast. I'm going to get some more information. I'm going to figure it out. But you never quite get to that point where you do. And sometimes you're like what I was, you're in this position of thinking, I just don't know what to do. Somebody give me an answer. So it was a bit of a weird time. What happened after that was even stranger, because when I got through all that period and rebuilt my life, things started to happen in quite a different way for me. And I say started to happen for me rather than me making it happen, because that's what it felt like. So I started to rebuild my life, and I started to set up new businesses, and I was making a really good income again. And I attracted a new relationship, a partner who was quite different to the relationships I'd had before, far happier, no drama, no problems. And I was also, what I noticed doing was all of the things, or a lot of things, that I'd always really wanted to do. And some things that I never realized that I wanted to do, but were amazing. For instance, I spent 8 years sailing around Europe on a yacht, my own yacht. Now, that was never on a goals list, never on a plan. How did I manage all of that? I've just finished that last year. Now we're living in a motorhome, traveling around. In fact, we've been traveling for about 13 years now with no fixed abode in various places. So here I was doing really well, and this was a few years ago now, and I thought, I need to figure out what I'm doing differently, because I'm doing something very different. Because what's actually happening now is that two things. One is, I don't have stress and problems. Before, I was struggling to achieve success and go after it. And it was always, I was making wrong decisions, and everything was so full of stress and pressure and confusion. But I didn't have and continue not really to have problems and stress in my life. So I thought, why don't I have problems and stress? I thought they were natural. And the second thing I realized was what it really feels like, in a funny sort of way, is I used to be the guy chasing after success. Every opportunity I saw where I could improve myself, or I could do something better, or I could take an opportunity, I'd do that. But now, this is me in my new life talking. Now it's like success, instead of me chasing after, success is chasing after me. Because what's happening, I was realizing is coincidences, luck. Things were people would come into my life. I remember being in a situation. I was in a shop, and someone came in, and I hadn't seen this person for 25 years, but he recognized me and he said, "Hey, Liam, what are you doing? Because there's an opportunity. You could open a business at what you're really good at, just next door to where my business is. They have a vacancy." Now, I had nothing at the time, but all of the things came together, and people helped me. Someone came along and offered to lend me what I needed, or several people, to get going. And so it all worked. And where did that person come from? We call it luck and coincidence. But what I realized was it was luck and coincidence, if you like, and synchronicity, and these unexpected things that didn't require all my stress and trying to figure it out and pushing and looking, and it was all coming to me. So I thought, I need to figure out what I'm doing differently, because this is so much better way to live. And I want to make sure I keep doing it. Whatever I've figured out, I must be doing something different, something right. I want to figure out what it is so that I keep doing it. And once I started to figure it out, I was absolutely amazed that this way of living is the natural way of living. And it's completely different to the way we've been told since the day we were born about how you're supposed to live. But here's the interesting thing. It's completely different, which is why very few people are living this way. Most people, if you really think about it, if they are struggling and full of stress in their life and it's not really working, then maybe what we're all being told about success, maybe it's not right. If 98% of people are saying this is the way you do it, and 98% of people aren't happy or successful, then maybe there's a connection there. And the other interesting thing I found when I started to study all of this and put it all together is I realized we've actually been taught how to do this. And we've been taught not only by science, the work I do now, helping people understand this different way to live, this is backed up by science, and it's also backed up by religion. And places like the Bible and every spiritual tradition tell us exactly this is the way we're supposed to live. And science tells us this is the way we're supposed to live as well. But we've never put it together. We've never seen the wood for the trees, if you like, about how this actually works. And I think that's my mission, is to help people see this different way and actually get what they're looking for, which is what the 2% have, which is true success, which is feeling great, feeling in control of your life, and having everything you want, what you really want, happening for you on the outside as well. This isn't just about going onto a mountaintop and meditating and telling yourself life's great when it's not. It's having all of the good stuff. It's sailing around the world if you want to, or traveling if you want to, doing what you're here to do, which is to be the best that you can be and have a great life.
Love that. And what I'm getting from that is we have, like you say, we've come away from the natural way of things, and we have somehow been conditioned, exposed through the school system and everything, that we are in control. We've got to think, constantly think. We've got to think and plan and hustle. And actually, when we get our ego out of the way and then be very calm, and the answers seem to come up because that is the right thing for you. And I love that. That's when the synchronicities start to happen. However, for a lot of people, this comes down to religion, because you've got to have faith, but it's not just linked to religion, right? Faith is just believing in the unseen. Yeah.
Nothing to do with faith. It's all logical stuff. It's nothing to do with faith. This is the way you operate. This is as logical as the law of gravity. If you walk off a 10-story building, doesn't matter what you think, believe, how motivated you are, how much you pray, how many books you've read about you can change your beliefs, you're going to go down, because nature rules everything. We are governed biologically. So you need to understand how you operate biologically and start to use that, rather than coming up with all these other ideas, trying to fight our biology.
Yeah, but we've got to trust that. For somebody to take that on, they've still got to put all that aside that they've got to do, and trust that this is the right way.
Can I ask you a question? Do you trust that the sun is going to rise tomorrow morning?
Yes, I do.
Do you really? Or do you just know that it's going to? It's really trust there? When you drive your
Well,
car along the road, do you trust? Are you worried and feel I've got to trust that other people coming the other way are going to go on the other side and not hit me? You don't
yeah.
trust, you understand. You just know
Ah,
that's the way it is. You don't trust
yeah.
your heart's going to keep beating. You just know that it is. Because you
It's that.
understand how it works. Another good analogy I use, sorry to interrupt, but it's about a motor car. When you get in your motor car again, do you trust that if you put it in the right gear and you turn the engine on and you've got the right fuel in and you do the right things, that it's going to get you to where you go? Or do you understand that's its job? But why would you even think about it? Why would you think that
Yeah,
it would be there? Because you understand. And what I teach is to understand how you work so you don't need to trust anymore. You just go, I understand that's how it works. It's a bit like, I understand that if I don't brush my teeth, I'm going to get fillings one day, holes in my teeth. You don't need to trust it. You just understand that's how it works. So this is the difference. And this is because I'd struggled with trust and letting go and having faith for years. And it never worked for me because I didn't have the understanding of how it worked. And now I don't need to trust anymore. I just know it's how it works. And this is what I show other people is how it works. And it's really quite simple.
brilliant. Yes, you've got to have that inner knowing. So, for somebody who is not quite there yet because they're so busy doing and hustling, you must have some kind of process that takes people through so that they get to that deeper knowing so that they no longer need to trust and they are just in the flow of life. So, yeah, how do you get people to this place of where they are knowing that they are more than enough?
The first thing to realize is there are no quick fixes in life. If you want to go on a diet, if your goal is to lose weight, you have to do a little bit every day and you have to get into a different habit of how you use your body and how you manage your life. So I really want to make that point. There are no quick fixes and in fact, wanting a quick fix is a is a sign that you're doing it wrong. And I'll explain why shortly. So what I teach people is I get people on the path of starting to understand and realizing that it is a process. You're not going to undo a lifetime of wrong thinking instantly. But the more you start to play with this idea and the more you get it and the more I show you how to understand how it all works, the more different things happen in your life and the more you see it working and the more you're encouraged to keep going. The problem is when people are struggling, they're after a quick fix. And it's all to do with this thing called the brain. Because I mentioned earlier about biology. If we really look at the way nature is set up, and as I said about gravity, you can't overcome gravity and you can't overcome your biological nature either, the way you're designed biologically. You can't stop your heart beating, or you can't stop yourself from breathing, or you can't stop the processes happening within your body. They're going to happen naturally. You need to understand the biology of who you are primarily. And the most important thing to realize is your biological purpose, why you're here, why you exist biologically. We're not talking about anything spiritual here. We're talking about pure biology. And any biological scientist will tell you that the most important reason why you are here, or the overwhelming thing that you are designed to do biologically, is to survive. Every living thing, including you, your primary purpose is to stay alive, is to survive. That's how nature works. And nature has a mechanism that it has given to every living organism to ensure that it has the greatest chance for survival. And the greatest chance for survival comes when that organism is being the best that it can be, when it's the strongest, healthiest. And for humans, it's when we're emotionally and mentally our strongest and healthiest as well, which means being fulfilled, being happy, not having problems, not having stress. When you're being happy and fulfilled, and as you mentioned earlier, in the flow of life, you are living your biological purpose. You are being the best that you can be. And that's what you're designed to do. But nature has provided a mechanism for every living thing to ensure that state is reached. And that's a brain. And all the brain is a machine or a mechanism that's designed to ensure that you become the best that you can be so that you have the greatest chance for survival. And that includes being happy, not having problems and stress. So all you need to figure out is if this machine, this brain, is designed to make me the best that I can be, two questions. One is, why am I not the best that I can be? Why do I feel stressed? Why do I feel like I'm struggling? Why do I have all these problems? Why am I not performing at my best? And the answer to that question is, like any machine, you must be using it the wrong way. Problems only show up when you use a machine the wrong way. If you don't drive your car the right way, you're going to have problems. Same with so it's very much your brain is simply a biological machine designed to ensure that you are the best that you can be so that you have the greatest chance for survival. So you need to understand, therefore, that anything like problems or stress or things not going well is simply the result of you not using your brain the right way. And when you really get that, then you go, all I need to do is figure out how to use my brain the right way. It's a little bit like the car thing. If you saw somebody standing behind a car, pushing it, trying to get it to go, what would you think? You'd think they're crazy. Why are they doing that? Why are they putting in all that effort, causing themselves, and they're not getting anywhere? They're just struggling. And then you go up to them and you say, why are you doing that? Oh, this is the way you get a car to move. It's got wheels. And you say, but hang on a second, do you think that's right? And you go, yes, but it's not going right because I'm the problem. I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not motivated enough. I don't have strong enough muscles. So I need to put in more effort to that. You say, no, you've got it all wrong. You just don't understand that the machine is designed to be fun to drive, to give you an enjoyable ride. You just get in, press a few buttons and enjoy the ride. It's the same with your brain. It's not supposed to be a struggle. And if you look at science and biology, they all say this. They say that life is not designed to be a struggle. And if you look at the rest of nature, it's not designed to be a struggle. So it's not that we haven't been told this. It's not that this is a radical idea. It's just pure common sense. But we've forgotten all about this. So that's what I do, is I teach people how to use this machine. And I've created what I call the 4-part brain model, which really explains in simple non-scientific terms, although in my coaching we go into a bit more of the science so that people really go, he's not just making this up. But even on a practical level, a non-scientific level, once you see it, it's just so obvious. And you think, why have I been doing it any other way? So I've created a 4-part brain model which explains not only how you're supposed to use your brain the right way, but it also explains why you haven't been using it the right way and why most people aren't. And then you can see that's the problem. It's not about some new technique or, it's a little bit like with a house. If you've got a crack on the wall of your house, you've got a problem. But if you just paper over that crack, you might come in the next day and you've got 10 cracks. So you paper over all of those and you spend your life being busy and thinking, I'm making progress here. I come into my lounge and I've fixed the crack, but next day you've got more of them. And if anybody sensible would say there's a problem in the foundations, there's a problem in the way this is all set up. And if I fix that, I'm not going to have to deal with all the cracks anymore.
Why do we overcomplicate things? Whenever somebody comes up with the right system for this, it's always something simpler. For some reason, again, it's us getting out of our own way. It must be the ego where we complicate things.
Because we're using our brain the wrong way, which makes us overcomplicate it.
When you understand it, and who doesn't want a simpler life? Who doesn't want things to run smoothly? And there's, how do you feel that in the last few years, do you feel that things are getting worse for people in general with regards to stress?
They are. Well, I don't know. They're not for me. And but the problem is, a question like that is a very loaded question. And because people say to me, it's all very well for you saying you don't have problems and everything, but what about me? But here's the thing we don't realize. This machine, this brain, and again, this is biology, this creates your perception. And the way you use it will determine the perception that you have. Now, this isn't about positive thinking and saying, oh, I just tell myself the world's great, and it is. If you use this particular part of your brain, one of the 4 parts, which we could talk about briefly if you like, if you use that as the primary way to manage your life, which is the part you're supposed to use, which is the problem-solving, fulfillment-bringing part of your brain, the part that's designed to be in control, to make sure that you're the best that you can be, things in a different way. Your world, literally, and every quantum physicist and every scientist will tell you that everything is perception, and you literally create your world based on your perception. But what's not so commonly known is the way you create your perception is how you use your brain, whether you're using this one part, which I call your creative brain, or whether you're using another part, which 98% of people are using. They don't realizing they're using a part of their brain that's not designed to help them achieve to be the best that they can be. And not only that, it makes you see the world as full of problems. Because, can I just say one thing? This thing that everyone's, and I really sympathize with people, but the main thing I sympathize with is they don't understand that everything could change it for them if they just used a different part of their brain. Because the part of the brain that they're using is designed to make them feel stressed. It's designed to make them see problems. It's designed to make them do the wrong things, create problems in their life. And for years, I found that myself. I was making so many wrong decisions, doing dumb things, and bad things were happening to me. And it was only later, much later, I realized I was in this brain state. I was using this other part of the brain that's not designed for that. It's not designed to help you with your life. It's designed for a different purpose. But if you use it to try and manage your life, you're going to end up with problems. And not only that, your perception must make you see that the world is full of problems. Because there's another way of looking at the world. We live in the best time in history. The stuff that we can do, I'm talking to you. I'm in the south of Spain, living in a beautiful motorhome, traveling wherever I want. There's water, there's fuel, there's food, there's anything I want, anywhere. People are walking around being happy, having happy lives. You say hello to somebody, they smile at you, they talk to you. We live in a wonderful world, and what we have 20, 30 years ago, let alone 100 years ago, people would have said, wow, if you could do that, if you could actually press a button and water comes out that you can drink, rather than having to carry a bucket for 5 miles to a well, if you could do that, you'd be so happy. You'd have an amazing life. It'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? So what's the problem? We're all here. We've got all this amazing stuff, and none of us are happy. Can't be about what's actually there. It's about what we're allowing our brain to show us.
And so many people focus on the negative and they forget the 99 things that have gone right that day. And it is true. People tend to forget the things that they should be grateful for. I suppose the tendency is to get complacent, and then as problems arise, they focus on that. So the listeners, I'm sure, would love to hear a little bit more about this 4-part process.
Okay, it's really literally 4 parts to your brain that are all designed for a specific purpose, and they're all designed to work together to make you the best that you can be, so that you live your biological purpose. You live as long as possible and you have a great life doing it. And these all have scientific names, which I can throw in if you like, and all the processes, but I've simplified it into something that's really easy to understand. So the first part of your brain, the first of the 4 parts, it's what I call your rational thinking brain. Now, your rational thinking brain is located at the top of your head. It's also called the neocortex from a scientific perspective. Now, the purpose of your rational thinking brain, or essentially what it is, it's a database or a library of all of your knowledge and experience that you've collected in every moment of your life. So everything that you gather through your experience, through your 5 senses, everything smell, taste, touch, hear, all of your thoughts, all of the ideas, they come through into the rational thinking brain, and they're stored there so that you can use this information to help you make sense of things. And one of the things, to be able to communicate, put labels on things, to understand things, to identify things. That's your rational thinking brain. Located just below that is what I call your emotional brain, your emotional feeling brain. In this part of your brain, and there's 2 primary areas where this takes place, the amygdala and the hippocampus. This is about creating your feelings, obviously. This is responsible for how you feel, and it does through chemical processes. That's your emotional feeling brain. The third part of your brain is what I call your survival brain, and that's at the back of your head, at the base of your head. It's mainly around the brainstem and a couple of other areas. But what the survival brain does is, as the name suggests, as all the names suggest, but it's designed to keep you surviving moment by moment. It looks after everything you don't have to think about with your rational thinking brain, like all your bodily processes and all of those things. So it's concerned with your moment by moment survival without you having to think. And there's one really important part of the survival brain, and that's what's commonly called the fight-flight mechanism. And what the fight-flight mechanism is, because remember, part of your survival is to make sure that you can get out of danger. So if your brain, and it happens actually in your emotional brain, but if your emotional brain sees as it's constantly scanning your environment, and if it sees a danger or a threat to your survival, it sends a message to the survival brain and it activates your flight mechanism through something called your sympathetic nervous system. And when it does that, you react, don't you? A car comes towards you, you jump out of the way. Someone's about to hit you, you raise your hand up, or you run away, or you stand to fight. But all of this is reaction to danger. And it's a mechanism or a weapon or a tool that's designed for one purpose, and that is to get you out of that immediate danger. So that's a really important part of your survival brain, to be able to get out of danger. Now, the fourth part of your brain is the part that nobody talks about, that everyone's forgotten, apart from, and all of religion and all of science, which all say, this is the part of your brain that's actually supposed to drive your life. This is the part of your brain that if you use it primarily, if you operate from this part of your brain, you will be the best that you can be. You will make the right decisions. You will be in the flow of life, and you will actually be happy, if you like. And it's what I call your creative brain. And it's located right in the very center of your head. Religion calls this part of your brain the kingdom of heaven, the holy of holies. Science has identified it as the pineal gland, and there's a couple of other places as well. But this is where all of your intuition comes from. It's where your creativity, your imagination, it's when you get those new ideas and you go, hey, I just saw a solution to that problem, or that's a good idea. Or it's where you see opportunities that you never saw before. So you meet somebody and you go, hey, we could do something together, or they would be a good person to work in my business. Now, on a limited level of awareness, you might think of these things as luck and coincidence. Remember, we're talking about an infinitely powerful computer, your brain. It has the power of 500 trillion computer microprocessors. And if I was to say to you, I can give you a computer that's 500 trillion times more powerful than any computer microprocessor, and it's designed for one job only, and that's to make you the best that you can be, happiest, healthiest, loving your life. Would you be interested in using it? Would you be interested in it? And you go, absolutely. But your creative brain is where all of this stuff originates from. And this is where your problem-solving ability comes from. It's where you get those gut feelings. You go, that's the right decision. Or have you ever had those feelings where, I used to have them all the time, where you make the wrong decision and you go, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'll make it happen. I shouldn't be employing this person, but they're the best that's here, and they're 70% there. Sometimes we say this in relationships. I'll marry that person. They're 70% or 60%. We can fix the rest. And everyone knows that relationships are difficult and you have to work on them and you're going to have problems. No relationship is perfect. Everyone knows that. So that little voice that you go against, this is your creative brain trying to guide you through all of your life to make the right decisions. And when you do, when you learn how to activate it, then this is when you're in the flow. This is when you're in the zone. This is when you're living in your natural creative state, the way you're designed to live. So people say, okay, is that just so what do I have to do? Think positive, or just meditate, or be grateful, or do all those things to try and be in this zone. The problem is, I used to try all that. It doesn't work, does it? Positive thinking doesn't work. Trying to do anything doesn't work. You have to allow this creative brain to do its job. And the only way you can do that is to realize the one thing that's stopping it from working biologically, and that is your survival brain. Because what happens biologically is when your brain tells you that you're faced with an immediate threat to your survival, and it activates the fight-flight in your survival brain, in that moment, it shuts down your creative brain. It stops it from working. And therefore, you don't have access to true problems, because your imagination, your problem solving, they're of no use to you when you're faced with a lion about to eat you that's jumped out from behind a rock, or someone's about to hit you or whatever. That's of no use. So all of that is shut down temporarily until you get rid of the danger. The problem is 98% of people are using their survival fight or flight brain. And that part of to try and manage their life. And that part of the brain is only good at react. It doesn't understand. It doesn't know what you want. It doesn't know what your goals should be, the goals that are really right for you. It doesn't know the real answer to problems. It doesn't know the people you need to meet, the things you need to do, the opportunities you need to take. It doesn't know any of that. It's just in a reactive state. All of that resource is shut down. And here's what shuts it down. Because what activates your survival, fight, or flight? Fear. What happens is when you feel a fear, when you see that your life is full of problems and stress and danger, and you're feeling fear, worry, stress, anxiety, your brain is activating your survival, fight, or flight, your sympathetic nervous system, and it's shutting down your creative brain. And what are we all trying to do? We're sitting there going, how can I be happy? How can I fix this problem? I need some more information. What can I do? What should my goals be? And we're using a part of our brain that doesn't know. It's like saying, don't ask me. I'm not designed. I'm just here to fight off the danger. That's the creative brain, but you can't have them. They don't operate both at the same time. But don't ask me. So that's why we struggle. And it says this in the Bible. 365 times it says in the Bible, be not afraid. Now, coming back to the thing you said at the beginning, so this is faith. It's understanding. It's not because your Bible is an instruction manual. The Bible is an instruction manual saying to you, this is an instruction, be not afraid, because when you are afraid, you're going to activate the part of your brain that's only designed to fight off an immediate threat. And you're going to shut down the part of your brain that's actually designed to give you the best life possible. So you need to find a way to stop activating this fight, flight, sympathetic nervous system survival brain and activate your creative brain. And that's what I did when I lost everything and my life changed. I didn't realize it at the time, was I found a way to shut down my survival brain and operate not with my thoughts. Remember, your rational thinking brain, it only has a very limited amount of information. It's about what you've learned in your life, and most of that's wrong anyway, as we know. So it's not about your thoughts. This doesn't come from your thoughts. It comes from a different place entirely. And when you start doing this, you start to see coincidences show up in your life, and you realize that everything that shapes your life is actually not what you've planned. You and I talking now, I know we somehow got together, but if you really think about it, how did this all happen? How do we get to be talking about this sort of stuff? And people are listening going, what was I expecting to hear this when I tuned into this episode today? We don't know. It comes to us from a different place. And the Bible says you have to allow your creative brain to do its job. You have to trust. It says in the Bible, do not fear, do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will look after itself. Do not worry about what you shall eat, drink, and wear. It's all going to be provided for you, like it is with the rest of nature. But you have to understand so that you can allow it to actually work. Because until you understand it, you're doubting it, and you're going, oh, I don't know if this is going to work, and this is a bit scary. You're in that state of fear. So you're still in that state where you're not using your creative brain. And that's really just how it works.
Fantastic explanation. I love that. It is simple. And
Not
as
easy.
I said before, not easy, yeah, because of the stresses in people's lives these days. It's very difficult for them to step out without any fear. But like you say, this takes practice. And I suppose it's only like for you, this happened when you'd lost everything. So in some ways, got nothing to lose, the fear is gone. It's always like the fear of loss. So for somebody who's in that state, might not be able to completely see that, but it is what it is. If that's not working for you, why not try something new? And you're right, all those pieces fit into bits that are in some of the teachings, but the way you've explained that, just puts the whole thing into this formula of, oh man, why have we been getting it all so wrong for so long? There is no need. All this suffering it's almost like, the way I see it, it's almost like it's a form of self-harm. If only people understood. And so many people, unfortunately, do want to put the blame on something externally. And yet, man, what you've just shared there is so empowering, because actually they could switch that all off themselves very simply. And
Yeah,
it's a shame that so many people are suffering, and there's no need for it.
that's the thing, because if you really realize that this machine that you've been given, and whether you want to say you've been given it from God or you've been given it by nature, from nature, if you like, you've been given this machine that's designed to make you have a truly rewarding and fulfilling life without problems. Its job is to do that. And we've just been totally bamboozled and confused that life isn't like that, but it is like that. One of the great things about traveling around all the time as I do, living on a yacht for 8 years, I spend a lot of time in nature, and I just see how amazing nature is. It's this perfect harmony of life, just interacting, being the best that it can be. And we can be like that. We're supposed to be like that. We're supposed to be a part of nature. Just like we're governed by the law of gravity, everything falls down when it walks off a cliff. We do as well. We're also wired and designed in exactly the same way. And all it takes is to put yourself on a different path, and which starts by saying, yes, maybe there is a biological wiring that's striving for everything to survive, and I just need to figure out why I'm out of sync with that. And why, and maybe I have been given this machine that's far more powerful than any computer in the world. Maybe I have this that has the potential to do that. So all I need to do is start to figure out how to use it. Now, if someone gives you a Ferrari car, you're going to go, and you don't know how to drive a car at all, you're going to go, I'm going to treat this pretty specially. I know this can do amazing things, take me amazing places, give me an amazing experience. So I'm going to make sure I learn how to get the most out of it and use it. I don't want to end up with problems, because it's not designed to have problems.
And this has an effect really on the body too. This is not just for entrepreneurs changing life, because people are in the fitness world. My background was fitness. People want to lose weight quite often. The reason they're not losing weight is because they've got too much stress. Once cortisol is in the system, the body is focusing back on that survival mode. And so this is not the time to burn the fat, because you might need it for energy. So it's the same thing. It's the same mechanism for your whole life in all other areas. So basically what I'm getting from you is, at the end of the day, if stress is there, if cortisol is running through your system, things aren't going to go right for anything. So the focus has got to be reduce that stress.
That cortisol activates your sympathetic nervous system, which shuts down the creative brain and activates its reactive state. If you want to know why people really don't lose weight in a diet, what's actually happening is because in the survival state, when you're activated by cortisol, what are you in? You're in this quick fix I call it dopamine hit stage. So you have all this motivation, I'm going to eat the right foods, but a little bit of chocolate walks past, a bit of pizza, and you eat it, because it's a reaction. You're in this reactive state and this survival brain doesn't see the big picture about if you eat it, you're not going to lose weight. When you use your creative brain, and I've done this for myself and I've helped other people with it as well, funnily enough, you naturally lose a taste for the foods that aren't right for you. You actually find yourself eating at the right time. And it's not like it's a struggle. It's natural. You just enjoy good foods, and you suddenly go, oh, there's a piece of broccoli there. Again, it is physical as well as mental and emotional and psychological. And stress has been proven to be the cause of most disease. And science is a word for this perfect state of the organism that everything is supposed to operate in. It's called homeostasis. We're all designed to achieve homeostasis, which means everything about our body is working well, including our thoughts, including our mind as well. Everything, and if you've come from fitness, you'll know about being in the flow, being in the zone. And when athletes and high performers and talk about, I've got this energy and it's almost effortless. But it's working and it's flowing really well. Musicians and composers say things like, I don't know where the music came from. I just heard it and I wrote it down. I don't know where it came from. It didn't come from my thoughts or whatever. It just appeared. This is all this natural creative brain process that is designed for us all to be able to access all the time.
So, what do you think when people are in this state of stress and they want more, but they really don't feel like they're enough? What is it that holds people back from trying new things, like listening to you and thinking, okay, I want to be in that state? So, what do you think holds people back from reaching out to somebody like yourself?
Again, when you're in a state of stress and fear, think about the brain state you're in, because it's not your fault. This is your brain doing it. It's not you. You don't want to feel stressed. You don't want to feel that you can't find a solution. You don't want that at all. But your brain is forcing you to because of the stress that you feel. So what you have to realize is fear and stress are actually the enemy. And you need to go on a process, and this is what I teach through my coaching programs, is you need to go on a process of how to eliminate fear and stress from and worry, because worry is simply a sign that your brain is saying you're faced with an immediate threat to your survival. So you need to go on a process of retraining your brain and doing other things which are actually even simpler than that, to say, I'm not going to feel afraid unless there is a real threat to my survival. I'm only going to feel stress. I'm going to teach my brain to recognize the difference between a real danger, between a lion about to eat me, and an imaginary danger, like my wife telling me they want a divorce, or my business collapsing. None of those are threats to your survival, but you've taught your brain to think that they are, or that the economy's bad, or we're facing wars or whatever. None of those are threats to your survival, but you've trained your brain to think that way. So that the only game in town, and again, the Bible says this, the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of heaven and everything else will be added to you. And where is the kingdom of heaven? The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is your creative brain. It's also called the Holy of Holies. It's given other names as well, which if you go deep into the hidden meaning behind a lot of what religion teaches, you see there's a lot more science that they're actually conveying. So what they're saying is, what you need to do, first off, is seek first to activate your creative brain, and everything else will be added. And if you can't see that, it's not your fault. It's because you're not using your creative brain. You're using a survival brain, and that's designed to make sure you don't see any of this stuff. All it's worried about is, where's the lion? Where's the next danger? I need to be prepared to react to that. That's all it's focused on. And here's the thing. Sometimes, another analogy I use sometimes is, someone came along to you and said, please drink this. And they give you this glass of something. You say, what is it? And they say, it's hydrochloric acid. You go, what? And they say, yeah, would you please drink this? And you go, no, I'm not going to drink that. Why not? They say, I know it's going to damage me. They say, our entire community, if you don't drink it, you're going to be rejected by all of your friends, all of your family. You're going to be thrown out of your home. You're going to be put on the street. Everything's going to be taken away from you. Everything will be removed from it if you don't drink that hydrochloric acid. Your grandmother is going to kill herself if you don't drink it. You would say, look, I'm sorry, you obviously don't understand. I don't care what the justification is. A lot of those sound pretty big things to have to deal with, but it doesn't matter what it is. I'm not going to drink the hydrochloric acid because the price is too high for drinking it. It doesn't matter what else the other options are. The price of drinking the hydrochloric acid is still far worse. It's still going to kill me. And that's what you need to realize about feelings of fear, stress, and anxiety. It doesn't matter what the justification is. It's going to put you in the wrong brain state whenever you feel it. So you can say the world's a terrible place, or I've got all these problems in my life. I had a lot of problems when I didn't have anything. That's a big problem. But you can have all these justifications, but it doesn't get away from the pure biology that if you allow fear, stress, worry, and anxiety into your nervous system, it's going to activate the wrong part of your brain, and you're never going to live to your full potential, no matter how hard you try, no matter what you learn, no matter how many courses, books, whatever exercises you try and do to change your thoughts, change your beliefs, it's never going to work. That's the whole key.
Brilliant.
So your whole mission in life is to say, how can I eliminate fear, worry, and anxiety? That's the drug. That's the hydrochloric acid. That's it.
Yes.
And that's what I teach people to do.
Stop drinking the hydrochloric acid. There you go. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
We've got a lifetime of trying to overcome the fact that we've been using the survival brain as our default way of living all our life. So to live a different way, it takes it takes some learning and understanding, and then it takes some practice, and then you start to see some results, and eventually you get to it where you think, this is so logical and obvious, my life is so much better and different. I've coached people, and then when they've got over this hump and they've let go and they've seen their creative brain bring them the best for their life, it's always been completely different to what they expected. And they've always said to me, Liam, if only I'd known, I wouldn't have struggled I didn't know how much better my life would be if I'd just. A good example is letting go of a business that's not working or a relationship that's not working. If only I'd known that if I just didn't let fear stop me from letting go of that, I didn't know there was something much better around the corner, but there always is, because that's what your creative brain is waiting to give you.
Love it. Love it. So for the listeners, come on, who doesn't want to have a life just in the flow? I think I've always gone for that. There's been some bits throughout life, again, because I thought I should be doing something when you get to a certain age and kids. And now coming out of it is, back in the flow of things. You don't have to do things in the way that people expect you to do it. Like, you're living the life of a digital nomad, traveling. I've just recently gone back to it, and everybody, this is open for everybody. This gives you the ability to live life on your terms, whatever that looks like. That might not be the goal for some people, but whatever your goal is, you can have that and more. For the listeners, what should they do next to maybe get a little bit more of this understanding so that they can live life on their terms?
I'd probably suggest they head to my website, liamnaden.com, because I've got a complete podcast myself where I talk mainly about all of these things. I also have a free course, a free mini course on how to use your success brain. And I've also got a webinar that I've just recently released. So I've got a ton of free information out there. I've also got coaching programs as well if people really want to go super deep. But there's a ton of information there about how to do this, and more importantly, how to understand so that you do it naturally. And all you need to do is just start thinking, maybe there is another way to live. Maybe there is a biological way to live, and maybe I'm holding myself back and purely because I'm using this machine the wrong way and I don't understand. So just go down a different track and because everything I say, and hopefully everything I've said today and everything I say in all my coaching, it all makes total logical sense. It can all be backed up wherever you want to look. Science, religion, spirituality, this is all factual stuff. I'm not just giving you some airy-fairy idea about, think positive or allow the universe to do its magic. I'm trying to prove to everybody every step of the way why this works, because when it's proven to you, you go, I get it, I'll do it.
And then when you do it, and you have these synchronicities and things do come into your life, then that's the only way of knowing, isn't it? When you know it for yourself. So initially you have to start with a little bit of trust to even try it. And then when you are in that state and things do start to happen around you, that's when you know it. And that's
Absolutely.
when more and more of these things come. Yeah, brilliant. Look, Liam, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fascinating speaking to you. Yeah, I would consider myself a student still.
You are.
I've
I
been
am.
a student of this for such a long time, and it totally fascinates me. And I love the fact that science and religion are coming together, and it's beautiful that a lot of this stuff is now backed up by science, because a lot of the more logical thinkers out there sometimes need this to see the science being backed up, right? Before they take that leap of faith into something new. So I love it. I love what you're doing. And this is what is needed, because there is way too much unnecessary suffering going on. Yeah, thank you for your time. So would you like to just also share what your podcast is called, so if people can go and find your podcast?
My podcast is called Let Yourself Off the Hook. Stop trying to create your life, manage your life through force and struggle. Instead, let yourself off the hook and allow your natural creative energy to flow through you. Because when you do, a different part of your brain literally takes over and leads you down the easiest and fastest path to you being the best that you can be. Let yourself off the hook. Stop the struggle.
Brilliant. Love that title too. Yes, come on. Stop being so hard on yourselves. Let yourself off the hook and get into the flow of life. Thank you. And to the listeners, I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, or healer who would like to drive sales whilst having fun podcasting, head over to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and find out how you can turn your podcast into a sales machine. We'll see you on the next episode.